The ancient ruins of Tikal. Nestled deep in the rainforests of northern Guatemala lies the magnificent ancient city of Tikal. As one of the largest archaeological sites and urban centers of the pre-Columbian Maya civilization, Tikal has captured the wonder and imagination of visitors for centuries. Though much of its history and origins remain shrouded in mystery, Tikal is estimated to have been one of the dominant cities in the Maya region during the Classic period 20090 AD. At its peak, the city-state controlled a vast territory, and its rulers commissioned many of the great temples and pyramids that astonish tourists today. However, Tikal would meet an abrupt and mysterious demise by the early 10th century AD. The rediscovery of the jungle-strangled ruins in the mid-19th century opened up a world of intrigue and legend around this lost civilization. From tales of ritual bloodletting ceremonies to the whispers of lost ancient artifacts yet to be uncovered, Tikal has no shortage of stories that pique curiosity about those who once walked its ancient plaza of the Seven Temples. Origins and unfounding myth. The early history of Tikal is murky, with archaeologists piecing together bits of evidence to trace back its founding to between 700–800 BC. Later recorded Maya mythology offers one legendary tale of the city's prehistoric origins tied to the gods themselves. This mythic story names the twins Ixpiacic and Ixmiquane as the city's original builders and endows Tikal with a divine, sacred quality. It also establishes the dynastic line of noble lords who became celebrated as Tikal's semi-divine rulers, and the city as their fabled capital, sprinkled with temples and pyramids dedicated to pleasing their gods. While much of this founding myth intertwines history with the supernatural, it does identify the key early historical rulers who expanded Tikal into a regional superpower. Influential nobles like Chak Takachakai and his son Yax Ebzuk, who first developed many of Tikal's megalithic temple complexes in the 4th century AD. Peak of power and an golden age. Under a succession of effective rulers and warring nobles, Tikal blossomed into one of the mightiest city-states in the Maya world during the Classic period of 250900 AD. Its central location in the richer southern lowlands of the Maya territory gave it access to valuable trade goods and key trade routes. Carefully crafted alliances and brutal wars with rival Maya states played out through this era, with celebrated rulers like Yasakan Kawil 68–734 AD expanding Tikal's sphere of influence into an empire-like domain across parts of modern-day Mexico, Belize, and Guatemala. Monumental limestone temple pyramids soared above lush plazas, dotted with royal stelae and altars recording the feats of these godlike rulers, developing unique architectural styles, artistic traditions like exotic animal skulls and jaws, lining finely carved steps to temple entrances proliferated. The city itself sprawled outwards from its sacred center to encompass over 60,000 structures spreading across 6 square miles, housing over 90,000 inhabitants at its peak thriving golden age. Jade, seashells and obsidian were flowing into the royal palace treasuries from subjugated lands. For centuries, Tikal seemed an unassailable bastion of Maya military and cultural hegemony. At the heart of dozens of interconnected city-states, collapse and abandonment, but the fortunes of the splendid city were about to turn by the late 9th century AD. A perfect storm of destabilizing factors sent Tikal into terminal decline and eventual abandonment by its people by around 900–1000 AD. A combination of prolonged droughts, crop failures, environmental collapse, endemic warfare with the surging rival kingdom of Calakmul to the north, and other pressures overwhelmed the overly rigid political and social systems underpinning Tikal's power structures. Within the course of about 100 years, the population rapidly dwindled as masses fled the city. The last dated stone monument was erected in 869 AD under the ruler Yasachankawalai, trying in vain to resurrect Tikal's religious authority. Then the great city fell eerily silent, its temples and palaces left swallowed by the jungle. The kingdom returns to legend. For centuries, knowledge of the magnificent ruins of Tikal faded into dim legend among the indigenous Maya, who continued dwelling across Guatemala and Central America. Glimpses and rumors of the jungle-choked abandoned structures filtered out across Mesoamerica, with early Spanish conquistadors recording tales from natives about a lost great city called Yaxmutal, rumored to once exist deep in the Petan jungles of the Maya heartland. It wouldn't be until 1848 that the organized archaeological rediscovery of Tikal was made under the governor of Petan, Modesto Méndez. Accounts describe Méndez and his expedition hacking through dense rainforest before coming face to face with the soaring, vine-wrapped temple pyramids reclaimed by the jungle. News of the lost city quickly spread like wildfire, igniting romantic visions of discovering the ruins of Maya life and history frozen in time. Archaeologists, looters, and early tourists soon streamed in, as centuries of lore about ritual ceremonies, pygmy races, lost caches of jade treasures, and more seemed to leap from imaginative fiction into tantalizing possibility around Tikal and its nooks and crannies still barely explored. Legends, myths, and enduring mysteries. Spurred by Tikal's rediscovery and the real artifacts being unearthed in its plazas and buildings, the 19th and 20th centuries saw all kinds of exotic stories and theories arise trying to fill in the many gaps around why and how one of history's biggest cities vanished centuries prior. While academics have settled some key parts of the historical record, many enduring mysteries and mythic legends continue to swirl around Tikal. These touch on everything, from the secrets of its ancient inhabitants, the unknown fate of vanished relics, connections to lost continents like Atlantis, and more, much perpetuated in popular literature and media over time. Here are some of the most captivating legends and mysteries that still kindle the public imagination today: bloodletting rituals and in sacrifices. Visiting Tikal today, one of the central plazas contains two parallel temple pyramids towering close together: the Temple of the Giant Jaguar and the Temple of the Masks. Archaeologists have established that these twin pyramids were built to venerate Tikal's 7th century ruler Yasauchan Kawil, who clearly invested much prestige and resources to this complex. Temple door frames were elaborately inscribed with royal status mythic imagery. But it's what may have transpired between these closely aligned pyramids that spawns grisly speculation. The spacing and access points between the two structures indicates they may have been designed specifically for public religious rituals conducted by priests. The most notorious speculation suggests the plaza served as a stage for royal bloodletting and sacrifices, where nobility would draw their own blood by painful, piercing rituals to gather in sacred collecting bowls. The though of screams echoing between these pyramidal walls, as priests extracted still beating hearts from bound captives, provokes chilling thoughts. These kinds of sacrificial practices were in fact common throughout Mesoamerican cultures of the time, though the extent to which they occurred in Tikal's unique history remains unknown. Hall of Records. Another mystery that remains unsolved is whether Tikal contains a fabled Hall of Records somewhere on site, safeguarding Maya history. A popular notion in the New Age movement, spurred by psychic readings in the mid-20th century, introduced the idea of an ancient library filled with golden records detailing Atlantean and Lemurian ancestry stored deep under a Maya pyramid yet to be identified. Some speculate a secret passage under Tikal's Temple 4 leads to this cache of records etched on gold, crystal, and stone tablets. Sci-fi legends like Edgar Cayce further spun theories. This hall contains evidence tying Maya ancestry back to survivors of the lost ancient civilizations of Atlantis and Lemuria, realms said to boast superior technologies and mystic wisdom. The many burial tombs of Tikal's nobles remain largely unexplored, leaving a glimmer of possibility. Perhaps one could turn up such fantastical treasures one day. Pygmy skeletons. A curious story dating from the early Spanish explorations of Tikal tells of tiny pygmy human skeletons recovered from the site, apparently leading to rumors of a separate race of indigenous pygmy people dwelling at Tikal alongside the normal Maya inhabitants. One account from the 17th century Spanish priest Fuentes y Guzman explicitly records items found, including some small skeletons of men and women, about 2 spans in height. Later scholars came to speculate these could have represented remains of mythic dwarves that seemingly were a concept in Mayan spiritual belief relating to the afterlife. However, most modern academics consider these old Spanish accounts mistook remains of normal Maya children for something more mysterious. Nonetheless, the notion of sacred subterranean spaces at Tikal filled with ritual entombments of dwarves and other supernatural beings, keep occult legends around the ruins simmering. Jade stash at Mundo Perdido. Wandering through the sprawling epicenter of Tikal, you eventually reach an unusual complex known as Mundo Perdido Lost World. Archaeologists are unsure of its exact original purpose, though stelae and monuments found there suggest it was an important ceremonial center that became more isolated over time. The name Mundo Perdido itself was coined by early 1900s archaeologists surveying the vicinity, who came across this remnant island of structures completely enclosed by swampland. Something else gave rise to whispers about Mundo Perdido, though. Recalled by one of those early explorers, rumors among their native helpers about a lost cache of priceless jade objects, buried there long ago during the unknown upheavals that racked Tikal towards its collapse. Jade was one of the most valuable commodities and trade items for the Maya elite. Points to narrow holes spotted sinking into the muddy ground near some unexcavated structures seem to suggest illicit digging has indeed taken place, lending further credibility that something sparkly and green may still await there. While the truth behind these kinds of local legends remain hard to substantiate, the fact is much of Tikal's extent and history stay undiscovered or not fully understood. New pieces and clues continue coming to light season by season, with ongoing archaeological projects across different sections of the massive site. One day, some luckily guided trowel blade or remote sensing scan may well unearth another set of sculpted jade ear flares, inscribed throne or trove of golden discs able to rewrite or unlock key insights explaining the abruptly vanished people of Tikal and myriad puzzles still surrounding them. For now, the songs of tropical birds trilling through its jungle-wrapped structures and kingdom of monuments keep their secrets well hidden. Conclusion. The sprawling epic ruins of Tikal encompass over 3,000 ancient structures across 6 square miles of Guatemalan forest. As the capital city for one of the most formidable Maya dynasties of the Classic period, it amassed enormous power through trade, warfare, and astute statecraft. Yet after numerous cycles of prosperity lasting nearly 1,000 years, Tikal succumbed rapidly to a cascading series of pressures that resulted in mass exodus away from a city that seemingly could never fail. The kingdom returned to legend for centuries, known only through oral myths by ancestors of its scattered diaspora. Its mid-19th century rediscovery opened up investigations into the rise and collapse of a glorious empire, filled with strange clues, but often more exhaustive questions. At the intersection of established Maya fact and legends lies an unfolding array of enduring enigmas that hint how much remains undiscovered about the daily life, customs, and fates of the once vibrant multitudes that trod upon plazas and pyramids, now shrouded by creeping jungle.